So I was browsing the old internet the other day, and I saw this thread where people were talking about, oh, how do I lose weight? You know, what's the best way to lose weight? And they were saying, oh, it's got to be calorific restriction and fasting and that sort of stuff. I just looked at that and I just thought, that's ridiculous. Fasting sucks. Fasting absolutely sucks. It's like, if you want to do anything productive that day except sit on your ass and post stupid, irrelevant opinions on the internet, you know, that's fine. But if you want to actually, you know, have a workout that day, if you want to go outside, you want to go walk around, play some games, do some actual work that requires thinking, like your brain has to actually use up some glucose to fire those neurons. That just doesn't happen when you're fasting, you know. Honestly, the best way to lose weight, okay, let's be honest, like, it's pretty hard not to eat sometimes, because your body is like hungry, you know, and it's going to make you eat if there's food around, right? The best thing to do is you just cut down on carbs. You know, instead of having like one burger and a whole bunch of potatoes or fries or whatever, you have like 2 burgers, and like instead of potatoes, you have something with a lower GI, something that breaks down into sugars slower, like sweet potato or brown rice. And that way, your blood sugar doesn't skyrocket when you eat it, and you don't get this sudden crashing down like you do when your blood sugar goes back down because of the insulin. So, you know, it's very simple to lose weight. You just eat things that satiate. And the things that satiate, you know, are the things that don't cause your blood pressure to rocket up, that have fiber or that have animal fat, right? So you just want to have things that have a decent amount of fiber in them, and you want to have fatty meats. I mean, it's not hard, you know. People always just start. I'm astounded by like how retarded people can be. You know, and you don't even need to exercise rigorously. I mean, you know, me, I exercise pretty rigorously. I got the bike shorts on today. I'm just going to give you a wee flex there, whether you can see that or not. But you know, this is all muscle, baby. It's all muscle, you know, because I'm working out all the time. But even if you don't do that, you know, like, it's easy to shed weight, but just stop eating crap. Just stop eating mashed potatoes. Stop eating white rice. Stop eating white bread. Like, that is not your key energy source. Your key energy source, the thing that's going to keep you going all day, is animal fat. Okay? It's like eggs. It's like bacon, sausages, hamburgers. If you're a bit richer and not a poor student like I am, then that could be steak. It could be it's like smoked salmon. It could be maybe smoked trout. You know, like these kind of fatty meats that will really keep you going. You know, and stop you snacking on crap. You know, I see people eating sandwiches all the time. I just look at them, I just think, you know, I look at the size of them too. I look at the size of them, and they're huge. The people are huge because they're just eating these carbs all the time. And you eat carbs, you eat carbs, you know, and the second it hits your mouth, it's already starting to break down. The starch is starting to break down into glucose, like just immediately, right? And that's not even talking about fructose, which is even worse. You know, I looked into this because I thought, well, you know, glucose, fructose are the same. They're sugars, right? They act the same way, right? Surely they turn into energy. And no, that's not true. So something like table sugar, which is actually a combination of glucose and fructose molecularly combined into sucrose, or something like high fructose corn syrup, anything with fructose in it actually seeks to stimulate the hunger. It stimulates your hunger, right? So The only time this doesn't really apply is with fruit. It happens to an extent with fruit, but what happens is the fiber in the fruit actually gives you a feeling of satiety. It's a different story when you have a juice, like a fruit juice. You know, even if it's been freshly squeezed, if you take out all the fibrous material, all the actual like plant material, you're left with something that is just so delicious. You could drink a whole bottle of it. I think we're running out of blackberries. You know, life really isn't that hard when it comes to losing weight and staying fit, and it just blows my mind that people can't handle it. But what also makes me a bit suspect is the extent to which wrong information is peddled. And I would say, you know, maliciously wrong information. Now, there's definitely some kind of malevolent aim behind it. Now, like I said before, carbohydrates are profitable. They're profitable. You can make a brand, not like Coca-Cola or Kellogg's Cornflakes. You can make a brand. You can spend, you know, 20 or 30 cents on actually making the product, and then you can sell it for 10 times that. You can't do that with animal products. They're just too expensive. They're really just too expensive. So, you know, when I look at these things like the food pyramids, and, you know, you look down the bottom of it, and it's like, and I used to follow that when I was like 10 or 12. When I first started running, I would have for dinner a big pile of white rice and a tiny amount of meat, because I was told that meat is bad for you. And this was, you know, this is probably going back 10 years ago. Absolute bullshit. Unbelievable, you know. And on everything in school, like, it was always, oh, don't have too much animal fat and meat, don't have too much cheese, that's bad for you, that'll clog up your arteries. It's like, no, that's not what happens. What happens is that you eat too much carbs and you get insulin sensitivity, and that causes your glucose and your insulin levels to go haywire, and that is what actually causes inflammatory diseases like heart disease. It's not animal fat. It's an absolute crock. And speaking of fats, something else that, you know, really gets under my nose is this ridiculous idea that rapeseed oil, canola oil, right, is good for you. It just blows my mind. About 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago, you know, probably between the 90s and sometime in the 2010s, it used to be a lot more prevalent that, oh, you know, this stuff is good for you, you know, it's a healthy fat, you know, oh, it's not saturated, so it's not going to act like wax inside your arteries. That's not how coronary artery disease occurs, by the way. It's got nothing to do with any kind of waxy substance. And we should see it everywhere. And it's like, oh, buy this canola-based spread instead of butter because it's healthier. And it's like, well, I'll tell you just one thing about canola oil. You know, canola oil, rapeseed oil, canola oil is short for Canada oil because it was the Canadians, that genetically modified it. The original plant that rapeseed came from actually contained high levels of a omega-9 fatty acid called erucic acid. And this erucic acid was interesting because, well, I mean, the rapeseed crop itself produces a lot of oil, and oil is very energy dense. So, you know, if a crop produces a lot of, say, sugar or oil, it's valuable, right? It's a valuable commodity. So, you know, canola would make a lot of oil, right? It's a great cash crop. There was one problem though. The erucic acid, the omega-9 fatty acid, not omega-3 or omega-6, the omega-9 fatty acid, when animals ate it, guess what happened? They started to get scarring to the cardiac muscle. There was something that this omega-9 fatty acid was doing to the cardiac muscle of the animals. So what do the Canadians do? Well, they genetically modified it and selectively bred it so that the erucic acid levels went down from about 20%, which would have been very toxic, to less than 2%. So, but there's still 2% of erucic acid in there. So you're telling me that This is healthier than butter, which, by the way, has not been conclusively proven to cause heart disease. That's a long story, though. You know, this stuff here could actually contain something in it, albeit in trace amounts, sure, but could contain something in it that will actively damage your heart muscle. I mean, that blows my mind. You know, anyway, I think that's enough. I think I've run out of blackberries. Yeah. See you later.